Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna. May some of you who are present here put on your videos so that we can have a personal understanding of who
Hello.
is who and how
Hare
you are
Krishna
available.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj.
Happy to be with here, all of you, after a little bit of absence. And I have been traveling and been a little busy, but I've been trying to accommodate Friday evening specifically for living the Gita session with all of you. Wherever possible, sometimes there's not proper internet connections where I move and it's not been possible. But I am back here in a better facility. I think we are all finishing the chapter 17. So I will take less time today. I think we are towards the end of the chapter, wherein Krishna is explaining very wonderfully what is the three modes. You remember the chapter starts with Arjuna asking the question, because in the previous chapter 16, we had Krishna concluding and saying that if you don't follow the Shastra, you're demoniac. If you follow the Shastra, you're Daivik. So Deva and Asura and everything should be done according to Shastra was mentioned specifically by Krishna. I think you remember that particular aspect. And in the 17th chapter, in the beginning, Arjuna puts up an important. Are you hearing me, by the way? Yeah, okay. So in the beginning of the 17th chapter, Arjuna puts up a smart question. What about somebody who doesn't follow the Shastra but has faith and does something religious or worships something? Then Krishna responds and says that will be decided according to the modes of material nature. If you're not following the Shastra and doing things under a guru, then if you do out of your own understanding and idea and faith, then it will be decided by the modes. That is why he said there are various types of faiths in this world, according to Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. This is the beginning. You know, Krishna said, Yajante Satvika Devan Yaksharakshamsi Rajasaha Bhutan Pretaganamscha Anye. Like that, he said that ghosts and spirits are worshipped by those who are in Tamoguna, and powerful human beings are worshipped by those who are in Rajas, and demigods are worshipped by those who are in Sattva. And then, of course, we know those who are in Shuddha Sattva, in pure goodness, they will worship the supreme absolute truth, Krishna. All this was indicated. And then Krishna goes further to talk about foods how to recognize somebody who is in the modes, his worship and everything. He says that you can understand it by the food, the charity they give, the penance they do, everything. So he goes forward to describe the modes of material nature and the food associated. The type of food you eat, from that you can find out the type of guna he is under and the type of faith he has. It'll all be one type of thing. Those faith which is influenced by tamasika guna, they will eat one type of food, tamasic food. They will worship ghosts and goblins and spirits. And they're all in one plane. So all these are connected. Then Krishna speaks about those in the modes of goodness. Then he comes to the point of austerity, performing austerity. Austerity means austerity of the speech, austerity of the body, austerity of the mind. And then he speaks about those in passion, ignorance, and sattva. Right? So in this way, he outlays an amazing thing. If somebody is educated in the Shastra, he is religious, he's been brought up properly, he's cultured, civilized, and is following a guru, then he is on the way up. But those who are not doing that are free franchising. I have freedom of speech, I have freedom of faith, I'll do what I want. Mostly they will be governed by the gunas. They're not actually free. The gunas will catch hold of them. And their faith and worship also will be according to that. Most of us have not examined this properly. And then Prabhupada goes further in the previous slokas, we read that faith starts from the heart, where the gunas will affect, and accordingly, the heart will be in a particular position. I'm not talking about the head, talking about the heart. Most of the work we do nowadays, whether we are working in a corporate situation or in the outside world, or we are working in business or anything, and our dealings with people, everything we deal with the head, intelligence, mind, etc. I'm speaking about heart means it's a different location where your faith is situated. This is the way Vedic scriptures understand the human body. Faith is from the heart. Love is from the heart. Analysis, discrimination, doubt, memory, all that is from the head. We are too sold out to that. We educate ourselves, we study, we earn, all that's got a lot of head work. That's why most of the time we're not religious. Even if you want to, we will do some regular, routine stuff without actually getting into it. So our faith becomes influenced by the modes. And according to your modes, you will move towards that type of faith. Right? That is why when you read Bhagavad Gita, you'll come to examine your heart, examine your faith, understand the knowledge that either you're worshipping demigods, you're worshipping powerful humans who are very smart looking, or they speak very well, or they have a lot of money, they become your heroes, or you are tamasika, you worship some low-level spirits and goblins and mantravadis and voodoo magic and everything that you have faith in. Accordingly, you will see you're moving in life. This is such a science, the modes of material nature. It affects your faith. But if you get cultured in Krishna consciousness or under a guru, you learn properly, educate yourself properly, you can get out of these mode influence and follow the process to reach the absolute truth. So Krishna comes to that point by saying in the 24th, let's say 23rd, he starts speaking about the absolute truth. He introduces the understanding of Om Tat Sat. You will see in 23rd shloka, he's saying Om Tat Sat iti nirdesho brahmanas trividah smritah brahmanas tena vedascha yajnacha vihitah pura. Deepti Nair, can you read the translation for that?
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah.
From the beginning of creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Hare
Yes,
Krishna,
thank
Maharaj.
you. Thank you. So everybody has heard about Om. Everywhere in Hinduism, they've got this Om everywhere. Right? But here it is mentioned that Om Tat Sat means the absolute truth. They're referring to Brahman. Om Sat Tat iti nirdesho brahmanas trividas smritaha. It indicates Brahman, the absolute truth. And it says here that these three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. No Vedic mantra, no Vedic utterance should be done without starting with Om. You will see, even if you're offering to Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, Om Indraye Namaha, Om Yajnaye Namaha, Om Ganapatyaye Namaha, it comes. Before you offer to the demigods, it's already offered to Krishna, Vishnu, Om. That's a very interesting and important thing you should note. You cannot chant a Vedic mantra without starting with Om. Om means Vishnu. That will be explained next. You'll see in the next shloka. Tasmat omiti udahritya yajnadhana tapakriyah pravartante vidhanoktaah satatam brahmavadinam. Therefore, transcendentalists. Okay, please read that. Madhavi Tarun, can you read? Text 24 translation.
Therefore, transcendentalist understanding performances of sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with the spiritual regulation begin always with Om to attain the Supreme.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, you see, it is mentioned that you have to do anything you want to do according to Vedic custom. It says that you have to start with Om. Then in text 25, Krishna says, Taditi Abhisandhaya. What is Om? Om means, actually, Prabhupada explains in the purport there, Om Tad Vishnuhu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suraya Divi Vachakshur Atatam Tad Vipraso Vipinyavoja Grivagum Sasamindate Vishnu Dyat Paramam Padam. Om means Vishnu. Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. When Krishna enters the material realm for the sake of different maintenance operations and creation and everything, he takes the form of Vishnu. And everything in the material world is directed towards that Vishnu because he is the origin, he is the source. So without talking about Vishnu, by using the word Om, you cannot even offer sacrifice to any of his subordinates. You can't offer sacrifice even to the demigods. In other words, when you say Om Indraye Namaha, it's already offered to Vishnu and then it's being offered to Indra. And Indra also will not accept it if you don't do that. He's very afraid because he knows the Supreme is Om, Vishnu. So it is mentioned about Om. Then Tat, the meaning of the word Tat iti anabhisandhaya phalam yajna tapah kriyaha dana kriyascha vividaha kriyante mokshakamkshibihi. Okay, Shalini, please read that. Translation for 25.
The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, thank you. So, Tat indicates freedom from material entanglement. So it says, without desiring fruitive results, means anything material you don't desire, one should perform various kinds of sacrifice, penance, and charity with the word Tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement. Om, Vishnu, Tat means performing activities without getting entangled, without desiring fruitive activities. That is Tat. Right? Then Sat. 26 and 27. Sadbhave sadhu bhave cha saditi etat prayujyate prashaste karmani tatha sachabda partha yujyate yajne tapasi dane cha stitihi saditi chochyate karma chaiva tat arthiyam saditi eva bhitiyate. All right? Okay.
Maharaj, can I read this translation?
Please read, please read.
The absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by the word Sat. The performance of such sacrifice is also called Sat. As we are all works of sacrifice, penance and charity, which, true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme Person, O Son of Pritha.
Wonderful, thank you. So, Om Tat Sat. Sat, the meaning is completely transcendental activity to please the Supreme. So it says here, The absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by the word Sat. Sat means supreme absolute truth. Okay? And that is the objective of devotional sacrifice. When you say Om Tat Sat, everything is contained in it. When you just use the word Om Tat Sat, it means everything is for pleasing the supreme absolute truth, Krishna. That's why in the Vedic system, they will always direct themselves, their mind and everything towards, may this activity of mine please Krishna. May this be accepted by Krishna, and may he be satisfied with me. They'll keep on doing yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi, kaunteya, tat purushvamadarpanam. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, whatever you do as a penance, whatever you eat, whatever you do it as an offering to me. So that attitude of being connected with the Supreme Absolute, and even in everyday life, whatever you do by the Lord's blessings, I hope He is pleased with me. So transcendentalists, persons who are really interested in keeping connected with the Supreme Absolute Truth, keeping in spiritual life, will always remember the Lord in everything they do by saying Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat. Means they immediately remember Vishnu, my dear Lord, please be pleased with my activity. I am doing this as an offering to you. You can constantly practice this. This is called Krishna consciousness. That same Om Tat Sat, which is mentioned in the Vedic literature, is the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is Om. The chanting of the Om Tat Sat. Same thing in Kali Yuga. The same Krishna has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, this is what you should do. This is a very easy way of remembering Krishna. We chant. So devotees chant Hare Krishna when they are sweeping the floor, when they are in the office, they are thinking in the mind. Sometimes they are standing in the queue for in the bank, they chant Krishna's name. Everywhere, they constantly want to make all their activities entwined as an offering to the Lord. So they keep saying Krishna's names. If you say Krishna's names, automatically everything becomes auspicious. Everything becomes clean and consciousness becomes clean. So that is why you will see Prabhupada propagated the chanting of the holy name everywhere. To anybody, anywhere, you can chant Krishna's names and everything becomes sanctified and purified, just like it is mentioned here. Okay, so this is an important thing for you to remember. As Krishna closes towards the end of this chapter, he says everything will be purified. In 28, Ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asat iti uchyate partha nachat pretya no iha. Anything done as sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pratha, is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and the next. Very strong statement. If you are not connecting everything to Om Tat Sat, not connecting everything to Supreme, it is simply useless. It is mentioned in the shloka at the end. Asat iti uchyate partha. Asat means falsity, useless. So you can see how many things are going on in this world which is not at all connected with the Lord. Why Krishna conscious devotees are actually trying to be conscious of the Lord, and how what they are doing when they become conscious of the Lord and offer it to the Lord, they are hooking themselves, connecting themselves to the Supreme Absolute Truth, and everything that they do becomes meaningful. It becomes useful to them. Simply by this one act of linking it with the Supreme. Just saying Om Tat Sat and remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Tat Vishnuhu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayah Tivi Vachakshur Atatam Tat Vipraso Vipindyavo Jagruvagum Sasamindate Vishnodyat Paramam Padam. They'll keep chanting this. We go to all these priests and everywhere, all of them will chant this. Paramam Padam, the lotus feet of Vishnu. They'll keep remembering it. So we have to remain connected with the Supreme Absolute Truth. You will see life will become very different. Although you are doing everything that you need to do in the world, you become hooked up with the Absolute. And everything you do becomes reality. Otherwise, it's a falsity, it's illusion. Just remember, everything becomes useless and false if it is not linked up with the Supreme. That is called yoga. Linking up is called yoga. If you don't link it up by this process of chanting Om Tat Sat or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, preferably the Hare Krishna Mahamantra now, it is useless. So the lives of people who are connected by chanting Krishna's names, by worshipping his deity, by worshipping the Shalagram, by conducting themselves according to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, by following a guru, all these things helps them to remain above matter. Otherwise, they'll be in matter under the three modes. In the 17th chapter, that is a question of Arjuna. What if you don't follow the Shastra and remain connected with the Absolute? Krishna is saying, then you will be useless, you will be under the modes. You will be doing all sorts of funny things according to the dictates of your mind. Mainly three types of classifications, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And all of them are useless. All of them are useless. So you cannot simply willy-nilly go and say, I am a devotee of so-and-so person. I follow this person, that person. You cannot follow anybody and everybody. There is a science behind it. Just like you cannot go to any college or anybody somewhere in some shack and tell that I'll teach you engineering or medicine, and you learn from him, and then you come home and say, I want to get a job in the hospital. Where did you study from? In that shack under that bearded guy who taught me. They'll say, get lost from here. We are serious about what we do. We need to be certified properly. We need to be trained properly. We have to do it under our eyes. Who the hell knows that guy in the shack? So don't think that if you simply follow anybody and everybody according to what you think in your mind, you will be following it according to the modes affecting you. And it is useless. Your faith becomes useless. The penance, the charity, this thing you do, everything becomes useless. A very powerful statement here Krishna makes in 17th chapter. Asat iti uchyate partha. Nasat nachat tat pretyano iha. There is no use. So you see, it is your duty to understand how to worship God. Who is God? How to worship him? And how to remain out of doing something false. You need education. There is a science behind it and you have to be educated in that science. For somehow people, for doing their PhD and for doing their so-called doctorate in this and medicine and law and engineering, they work very hard day in and day out and get the degree and get the money and work. But anything to do with God, it's according to what I think is right. Why don't you do medicine like according to what you think is right? You'll be killing so many guys. You'll just be killing them actually. You'll be a quack number one. Isn't it? So, I don't know why people don't understand. There is a science behind understanding God and it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. Follow it. What's your problem? Just what's your problem? So if you read the purport to the 17th chapter, Krishna says, Prabhupada is saying in the purport, how to purify food, sacrifice, austerity and charity. They may be contaminated by the modes and everything, but you keep it aimed at the Supreme, Om Tat Sat. That way it will get purified. Om Tat Sat indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Right? If you don't follow the scriptural injunctions, you will not attain the absolute truth. You will get some temporary result without any ultimate goal achieved. That is the meaning of Krishna saying in the end of the 16th chapter, Ye Shastra Viddhim Utsujjaya Vartate Kamakaratah Nasasiddhim Amapnoti Na Sukham Na Param Gatim. He will neither get perfection, na siddhi, na sukham, neither happiness, nor the supreme goal of life. If you don't follow the Shastra, as I'm saying in Bhagavad Gita, if you don't follow, Krishna is saying nothing you will get. So therefore, the conclusion is sacrifice, charity, penance, must be done at least in the mode of goodness. They are inferior in quality otherwise, right? But actually, this should be done in complete pure goodness. From mode of goodness, you can meet to pure goodness, right? So, Om indicates Vishnu. Tattvam Asi, Krishna explained, Prabhupada explained there, the word Tat comes from Tattvam Asi in the Chandogya Upanishad, indicates the second goal. The first goal is Vishnu, as it's mentioned Om. Sadeva Saumya is the third one. It's also from Chandogya Upanishad. Same. And it is mentioned there, originally Brahma used this Om Tat Sat when he was the first only living being in the universe. He used these three words and he became Krishna conscious. And it indicates these things, right? So all our work and endeavor and sacrifice should be done for Om Tat Sat. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness, right? So Om helps you to remember the Supreme Lord. Tat is detachment for the sake of liberation. And Sat is absolute truth, the objective of devotional sacrifice. There, the performer also becomes Sat. All the works that you do also become Sat. Everything is the quality of Sat. Okay? So, these important things, Krishna is also using the word Prashaste Karmani, that Vedic duties, right? The purpose is meant for ultimate liberation and it should all be connected with Om Tat Sat. Karmani means activities, right? So if you read this purport, you'll get some lot of interesting, important information, right? The principle of faith in the Supreme is emphasized. Faith according to the modes is what was described earlier. Ultimate goal of life and advice of all the Vedas is to have faith in the Supreme. That becomes the key. When a person develops faith in Krishna, faith in his words in the Bhagavad Gita, and he learns things under a guru, then he can also directly become Krishna conscious, even if without becoming Vedic and going through everything. Right? So Prabhupada is advising in 28 that you must first find a proper spiritual master. You should get trained by him. Then you will achieve faith in the Supreme. When that faith matures, it will become love of God, prema. So we must search out for such a person. Okay? So this is in substance, the 17th chapter coming to an end. It starts with the faith in the modes and inquiry of Arjuna. It ends with Krishna saying, have faith in the Supreme, perform all activities for the sake of the satisfaction of the Supreme, sacrifice everything for the Supreme, Om Tat Sat. You will become perfect. You'll become linked with the absolute truth. This is a simple process that is being mentioned by Krishna. Right. So this chapter is called Divisions of Faith. Your faith need not be divided. It can be focused on Krishna. If it is under the modes, it is divided. But if it is on the Supreme Om Tat Sat, it is focused on Vishnu. Okay? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any quote, any comment, any question?